Right, guys, without further ado, we're going to be looking at the robots as a service firm, Miso Robotics, specializing in restaurants and quick service restaurants and that kind of thing. The origin of the name from French, Miso means mise en place, means put in place. And these are robotics and they're fucking fantastic. Excuse my language, but the valuation of this company has exploded, and I'm going to dig into this presentation. Again, I'm always going to be analyzing and providing insights where I can. I'm not a financial advisor, but I try my best to provide financial logic. Yeah.
We all grew up on the joys of fast food. The good food made fast and affordable.
This is the 2022
part of what makes
shareholder presentation.
Institutions. But times are changing.
The pandemic has flipped the restaurant industry upside down.
And we're looking for our safety.
And the number of workers is down.
And they have actually signed a contract with Chipotle, the biggest Mexican chain in the world. So things are happening at Miso Robotics.
To take us back to the glory days of fast.
I wouldn't say back or even glory days.
Well, what would you say?
It's about the future of fast food.
There you go. Look at that. The money shot. That is the future, Miso Robotics.
I'm Mike Bell, CEO of Miso Robotics. And we're using robotics and AI to help usher in the future of fast food. Commercial kitchens, when you look at these kitchens across the United States, you see operations based on manual tasks and outdated technology. So that means people are performing lots of repetitive and robotic tasks.
Was that pun intended?
Yes, it was.
So robots, I get it, but how are you recreating that magic of what fast food was?
Pretty simple. We build robots to do robotic work and let people do people work. The fryer is one of the toughest positions to build. You got splattering oil, 20, 30 degrees hotter standing behind that fryer than in the rest of the kitchen. What we ended up developing in Flippy was really a collaboration between kitchen workers and our engineering product teams. Workers who used to be working the grill, working in the kitchen, are now working the kitchen, but getting trained in robotics technology at the same time. And
this is obviously the future of kind of people working with machinery, working with robots. Whether restaurants will have as many people in them, working in them, I very much doubt it. But anyway, it's good news for Miso Robotics, good news for the robotics industry in general. Yeah.
And that's a skill that they can take with them for the rest of their lives.
Wow, that sounds impressive.
I'm also impressed by how cool it is.
Think franchise owners can afford this?
I can answer that. This is a huge addressable market. We're talking over 250,000 QSRs in the US alone. And yes, many of them are struggling. Cash flow is an issue. So we had to develop a RaaS model, which stands for Robots as a Service. We charge a monthly service fee, so restaurants don't have to pay any upfront costs. Their monthly fees go towards the equipment, the software, and allows our team to stay engaged with the staff, to train them on robotics, and hear how we can improve our technology so they can focus on more important tasks for their business.
I get it. So robots can do the robot work. And people can
Do the people work.
Like taking orders with a smile and delivering it to them personally. To me, these are the things that made fast food great to begin with. The attention to detail, the people-focused experience.
Yeah, this is good.
Is to bring restaurants into the future.
Well, there you have it. Well, not the same.
Okay, it's a bit adverty, but yeah, I kind of get the message, and I agree with them. The QSR, quick service restaurant market, is enormous, and I believe that kind of they're all going to be interested.
Here's the guides to help bring us into a new era, filled with everything we love and more than we expected.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Miso's first annual shareholder meeting. I'm Mike Bell. I'm the CEO of Miso Robotics, and I'm delighted to spend a few moments with you this morning telling you more about some of what Miso has accomplished last year and some exciting things that are at hand for the coming year. Today, I welcome you here from Miso's new R&D facility in Pasadena, California. In this building, some of the most innovative food preparation automation ideas are birthed into products. The team here designs, prototypes, tests, and ultimately gives birth to the products that take over food prep tasks that are difficult, repetitive, and in these days, increasingly difficult to staff. This whole creative process that occurs here combines an important balance of steps and teamwork. First, we listen very closely to our customers and understand their pain points very precisely. Next, we apply a lot of business discipline to this process and do our best to choose wisely which problems to solve and in which order. And we look to choose those problems with which we can make the most dramatic impact most rapidly. In other words, in plain English, we choose the lowest hanging fruit. The creative design process next rests with some of those talented design professionals in the robotics industry. From there, the software team makes it all work together, turns it over to manufacturing, which is outsourced to our partners in Columbus, Ohio. And they help bring these creative ideas and these processes to life as products that we sell to the restaurants in America. In explaining,
I'm sure it would be much wider than America. In the not too distant future, I think they struck up a deal with Americana restaurants in the Middle East and North Africa already. So I think they're going to be going global very, very quickly.
everything that we do, Miso has some significant advantages at hand. First of all, we've got a really big head start. We've been at this for about 5 years, and during that time, we've amassed a deep bench of technology that's broad and deep around robotics automation in the restaurant industry. Secondly, we're doing this at a time when robotics is hitting an inflection point. As a company and as a society, we're facing a tidal wave of automation adoption. Third, key enabling technologies like robotics, robotic hardware, computer vision, AI, all these enabling technologies are coming together at this point in time, making products that we create significantly more approachable and more affordable for our customers. But most importantly, the key advantage that we have is our team. We're over 100 people at this point in time.
Wow.
And 85 of those people are engineers of some form or fashion. The building next door houses, it's home to our software team, our support, our product, our administrative teams, and management team. And the combination of all this working together has produced some tremendous results.
I want to say I work at Meta, I work for WhatsApp, and it is difficult to get high quality engineers working in these kind of spaces, you know, computer vision, artificial intelligence, automation, that influx between product and software. So the fact they've got 85 high quality staff members in that space and they're growing so quickly on all fronts, including the staff front, I think is very impressive.
In 2021, Miso's valuation and share price increased a whopping 425% in 1 year.
Yeah.
We're proud of that achievement. We're happy.
That's good. I invested in 2020 and I also invested in 2021. And yeah, mostly I've invested like 3 times in 2020. So I'm really happy with that. Obviously, I don't really check out these updates all the time. I don't have the time to because I'm working at the moment. I'm not a millionaire yet, obviously, but fantastic news. I think it's going to only go up from here.
Happy to have your support, and we'll do our best to keep that meteoric ride continuing in 2022 and beyond. So here's a little of what you can expect in the time ahead. First of all, more customers. At this moment, we have active pilots underway with some of the largest restaurant brands on earth.
I just want to say something on this, that when I invested in 2020, I think they had 2 or 3 customers, most of which were connected in some way to the founding team. I think maybe the Dodgers Stadium was maybe not connected. So it just shows you the people that invest early, yes, they're taking a risk by investing in 2020, 2017, 2018, 2019, but look at that upward trajectory. Let's say, I don't know what this is, let's say it's 25 mil. You know, these guys have made a 20x return in 4 years at the time of filming this video. So investing early, the risk that these guys are going to go bust is obviously diminishes over time. But I'm starting to advocate for myself to invest early. And I'm going to probably do more videos about investing early in the seed stage. Just because it's quite exciting to follow companies, because this can happen and does happen. And I'm just glad that I invested even in 2020. But anyway, let's continue.
And more scheduled to go live in the weeks and months ahead. demand for Miso's products remains white hot, and we'll continue to do our best to satisfy this demand as quickly as we can. The robots that we install in our customer locations produce a dramatic and immediate ROI for those customers.
Whoop.
The pilots represent, each pilot we put in place represents the potential to expand to thousands of units. And each single unit we put in place carries the potential for hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue during the life of the product.
For both Miso Robotics and for the franchise or corporate owned stores, everybody wins in this. It's amazing.
Second, you can expect international expansion. We're going to be making announcements in a time ahead to bring Miso solutions outside of our continent. The problems that we solve and the need that exists in the market for our solution doesn't stop at our country's borders. We have incredible demand we're seeing from Asia, Middle East, and Europe, and there'll be more announcements coming forward about us planting flags and beginning to satisfy that demand in the time ahead. And then lastly, you should expect more product announcements from Miso. Okay, you'll hear more about this in the next part of the presentation from Jake Brewer, our Chief Strategy Officer, and Chris Kruger, our Chief Technology Officer. So on behalf of the entire Miso team, we're thrilled to be solving the most pressing problems in the industry and to be at work forever changing how food is prepared in America and the rest of the world.
I think it's great. I'm sorry to stop and there. I just wanted to jump in to say that I can actually see quick service restaurants franchises being like 90 to 100% robotic in the not too distant future. Maybe just having one person there to meet and greet and to be a smiling face. Maybe in the future it won't even be. Maybe it will be virtual. There could be someone, virtually on a screen to meet and greet, so that you get an arbitrage of labor costs. So that if you're in America, you get someone meeting and greeting, you're paying them in Filipino currency or something like that. Who, the Filipino staff that I've hired in the past are the most friendliest, warmest people, and they don't cost as much as American staff. Anyway, I'm going off tangent. Let's go back to the presentation.
So next up, I'd like to invite Jake Brewer, Miso's Chief Strategy Officer.
What a good name.
So to come up and share some words.
Yeah, they get featured everywhere. Why not? It's an amazing technology. It's going to take over the world. Why wouldn't it be featured in the press? Come on. Let's get to 500 billion. Yeah. Woo! Love it. Look at that. Brilliant. Yeah. Automating drinks now as well. Coffee next, folks, and beer. Imagine that. Imagine it if they launched it in pubs and clubs and coffee houses. Fuck yeah. Love it. Wow, it's good. Look at these brands. I mean, I invested in Buffalo Wild Wings a while ago before they were bought out, annoyingly. But these are really big brands. If you're not from the US, BWW, Buffalo Wild Wings, has got a lot of stores. I think White Castle has over 1,000 stores, maybe, or 500. It's got a lot of stores. Wing Zone, it's got a lot of stores as well. Cali Burger, I think might be connected. Maybe Leve might be connected to the founders as well. But they're growing with big firms. Wings and Rings is a new company they're partnering with. Chipotle they're partnering with, which is the largest Mexican restaurant chain in the world. So it's getting bigger and bigger. And it is clear to me that every company in the world is going to want this. Everyone that fries or serves customers in this space.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me here today.
So he's obviously got a very good background here. Yum Brands being the largest, or one of the largest restaurant chains in the world. Used to own Burger King as well, maybe not. But anyway, it's got massive reach. Kruger as well. Haven't heard of these guys. They're probably big in America. So I'll just mention it again, just for that Boom Boom Ting. What a brilliant name. Anyway.
As Mike said, I'm Jake Brewer, the Chief Strategy Officer here at Miso Robotics. I intentionally put that video first to make sure everyone was really awake prior to my section. But some pretty cool stuff that you just saw there. My role here as the Chief Strategy Officer are a couple things, but by far the largest piece is directing and guiding the product strategy across our series of products and across the restaurant landscape. So I wanted to start a little bit with my background. I find it's relevant to why I joined Miso and why Miso exists, actually. About a year and a half ago is when I started my Miso journey, but the prior 15 years, I served the largest restaurant brands in the world in an operational capacity. Yum Brands, Kroger, CKE, you can see them here. My literal job was to go to these restaurant brands, work to improve the restaurant operating P&L every day. That was either by running restaurants personally or by designing systems and processes that enabled top line growth and bottom line EBITDA. And so as I've been challenged with this task for 15 years, we saw the rise of AI and technology, but we saw it far slower than in other industries.
I mean, it's great they've got the right person for the job. You know, he can direct the strategy in line with what people in his position would be looking for. And of course, when he's in the room, he's going to be talking the language of the buyers, of the product buyers, of the CTOs for these large restaurant chains that are looking to buy in technology that's going to earn them more money, EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, or amortization. So his interests are in line with them, which means sales are going to rocket, and they already are. But the fact is that they're going to be in line with business operations, business efficiencies, and product people within those big companies.
Miso was introduced to me about 4 years ago. And it was clear then that they were the leaders in the space, and we remain the leaders in the space. But when I saw what had happened about 18 months ago by the people who were here far before me and our founders, it was amazing to see that the technology isn't in the future. The technology is here today.
It's really interesting that it's here today, but it's kind of been behind wraps or behind curtains since, when I invested in 2020. Like, people don't know about it, even though it's in the press. It's more in the press in the States. It's not been really in the press in the UK. I'm surprised no one's heard of it. I'm surprised I haven't seen it in the UK. I know that they're doing US focused growth, but this is now, they are the leaders. It looks like they're going to go global. It's very exciting. I mean, I'm not just excited about Miso Robotics. I'm excited about the whole kind of robotics as a service industry. I'm investing in other robotics brands as well. Anyway, let's keep going.
So Mike kindly asked me to join, and I very quickly accepted, because this is literally the future of the industry. So I'm glad to now be part of the team that's bringing that future to life every day for the restaurant industry, the industry that I love, that I've worked in my whole career and will continue to work in. But what I want to start with is the state of the industry. It's important to kind of level set where we are as an overall industry. So we'll start with some good news. First of all, the industry has never, ever been stronger. Financially speaking, we have had sales records at nearly every large brand. It's shocking. This isn't new. This isn't something that's just a post-pandemic boom. In fact, when I was still on the brand side of the business, the brand I was supporting set 15 and 20-year records for sales in Q3 of 2020. So that was that back half of the pandemic. There was already this huge resurgence in sales for the industry. A couple fun facts that I was able to pull. You've seen these in the news possibly. Yum Brands, one of the largest restaurant companies in the world, a company I used to work for. In 2021, they opened a new restaurant every 2 hours.
It's good that there's growth, obviously, but there was a lot of stimulus checks. There was a lot of incentive money from governments around the world. I think the important thing here is that I think this technology would be sold and bought in any market. If you think about it, they're growing, they need these robots. or the market is shrinking and they need to reduce their overhead costs and they're going to be selling these units. So I don't think it's to do with the cycle. I think it's kind of anti-cyclical or kind of above and beyond the economic cycle, but that's just my opinion. Let's hear what Jake has to say, the other Jake.
So by the time we're done with this today, half a restaurant will be open, an hour after that, a new one. Every 2 hours around the clock, 365 days a year, and that's just one brand. Chipotle posted $1 billion.
Before we go on to Chipotle, one every 2 hours is 12 a day. That's like it's around 4,000 or 5,000 restaurants a year that they're opening. Imagine if Miso Robotics becomes their premium partner. I think they will. Why not? Chipotle is the biggest Mexican restaurant chain. If you're interested in finding the next Chipotle, that's been a wonder stock. I invest in that. And I've got some videos on that, so check those out. But I don't want to distract you from this video. Make sure to stick around because I'm going to be adding insight and my opinions throughout this video and at the end.
Sales growth between 2019 and 2021. 2019 being pre-pandemic, they were already a strong brand. 2021 posting $1 billion incremental dollars. It's unbelievable.
That's Chipotle.
The one that really blew me away was McDonald's, a brand that has had its ups and downs. They posted $112 billion increase in 2021 alone. Amazing. $112 billion. So like I said, the industry's never been stronger. There is a huge appetite to adopt technology. The other piece that's been interesting during this time, and it's a shift that I saw again when I was on my previous brands, the drive-through for both traditional QSR as well as fast casual. You'll see brands like Panera, they're adopting drive-through in their new prototypes. Chipotle adopting drive-throughs in their new prototypes. It's a very important piece that's going beyond just fast food. That traditionally was about 60% of all sales went through a drive-through. So 6 out of every 10 customers got their food through a drive-through. That has now been sustaining at over 80%. There's tremendous pressure on the drive-through of these restaurants. Literally, speed is money at this point in the
That's a really interesting point, actually, because if you think about it, dark kitchens, automated kitchens, delivery, and drive-through are all levers that are putting pressure on restaurants to deliver quickly. And if Flippy's faster, I'm sure they're only going to increase with the speed. They're going to find ways to get even better. Then Miso Robotics is going to be the brand of choice.
Additionally, we're getting sales from new channels. Digital sales grew, and this doesn't sound like a large number, but it's hugely important. It grew from 0.1%, 0.1%, to now it's averaging 5% and growing every year. The reason why these sales are interesting is in a restaurant, you normally understand and can see where the lines are forming. They're forming at your front counter or they're forming in your drive-through. That's no longer the case. 10 o'clock on a random Tuesday, you can get hit with a $100 order and you're understaffed already as it is, and it's an off-peak time. Said in short, it's challenging. The other side of the business, you can see on the screen, there's some really key stats that you're seeing in the news. Most importantly is the labor shortage. I want to bring a little bit of a different angle to this. The labor shortage that we hear every day spoken about is hitting all-time record highs. In fact, it's facts. Yeah. It's at an all-time high for openings for the restaurant industry. However, this isn't new. I can remember many, many nights running restaurants having to go fill a fry slot because someone didn't show up. This is not a new pandemic-created problem. It's a pandemic-accelerated problem, but it has always been here. Secondly, we talk a lot about labor rate. The news is often talking about $15 average wage rate, right? And this looming pressure that's coming from $15 average wage rate. It's not coming, it's here. In fact, it's passed. It's $15.50 right now, average wage rate in the restaurant industry. Wages are going up and they're already here. And lastly, the pressures financially are growing in food as well. This is supply chain issues. We don't have to go into that, but 7% inflation is at a 10-year high.
Stick around, guys. I think part of doing well in business is the ability to stick around and do the research and do the due diligence. And that's been key to how I've done well. You know, I identified this company and it's up 500-600% since I started. So stick around. I'm sure there'll be more insights that you're not aware of, and you can keep learning.
All this means is the restaurant is getting squeezed from every angle, both on the good side, top line revenue growth and sales, as well as struggles on the bottom line to maintain those sales as flow through cash. So why are we here? It's literally to solve these problems. When we look at what Miso offers, we offer products that help efficiency, speed, and direct labor redistribution within the restaurant. It's an amazing time for Miso to be growing as we are. Now, it's 5 years in the making. We aren't a pandemic boom company. We've been here for 5 years, as Mike mentioned, but the timing could not be better. We have several products that you saw in the video. Sippy, Cookright, and Flippy are the three. We're going to talk mostly about Flippy today. Cookright, to briefly touch on, is an AI vision-based system that can be applied to many places in the kitchen to help efficiency of staff. As a quick stat, staff turnover in restaurants often surpasses 100%, meaning every year, the whole restaurant turns over in staff. Training.
So just look at this though, $15.50 for the average wage at the moment. That could easily go up 10, 20, 30% in the next few years with inflation. Labor cost equivalent of Flippy 2 is 4.55. Every company is going to want this. It's also faster. It's also more accurate. It's also safer. You know, obviously everyone's going to want this.
Is a significant and real cost, as are efficiency measures. Cookright is there to help with efficiency and ensuring that SOPs, standard operating practices, are followed every day. Sippy needs no such introduction. Sippy is an automated beverage solution. The only thing that happens more commonly in restaurants than French fries are drinks. So having an automated beverage solution that not only pours the drink in the ice, but also lids and organizes it for the drive-through attendant is a direct correlation to labor displacement as well as speed through that drive-through.
It's great.
Let's talk about Flippy. Flippy is shipping now. Flippy can be purchased and is being installed in restaurants all over the country and soon to be world as we speak.
Amazing.
Flippy is showing tremendous results. These are things we've been very excited to start talking about.
I mean, I kicked myself for not putting in more. To be honest, I was going to put in more, but I was very new to angel investing. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know about it. I didn't know how to analyze. I didn't know how to think about it. So if you're new to angel investing, check out my other videos because I've been through this journey. And yes, I've 5x'd on this already. But if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have put more in. And I would probably be able to buy maybe not a house, but a housing deposit just off this one company. And who knows where this company's going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if it's worth over 100 billion in the next few years, because why can't they take over the world? Let's see what they have to say.
Right. We had an idea, we had a vision, the team executed it. So what did it do? We're seeing in live locations, it's replacing between 75% and 150% of a full-time equivalent. That means a person that used to work the fry station, or in these times, more commonly not showing up to work the fry station. Flippy is there and can do the task. We're showing through deep studies that it's able to replace the significant portion of that job. Not only is it doing that job well and showing up every day, after all, it is bolted literally to the floor, so it has to show up every day. The idea is that it also makes the restaurant more efficient. We're seeing 10 to 25% improvements in speed of service. If you go back a couple minutes and you hear about the major, if you took one thing away from that first part, the major crunches in the drive-through. Again, if you can save seconds, you increase revenue. It's as simple as that. We are seeing that Flippy can deliver this. Afterwards or during the Q&A, we can get into more depth there, but it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And the last one, which is table stakes, quality. These brands live and die by the quality of their food. We absolutely cannot do anything to hurt that. And in fact, we're seeing it's better. Flippy always cooks to the correct time, to the correct fryer, to the correct standard that the brand set forward. Again, no one in the restaurants are trying to do this intentionally, but the pressures that you just heard about cause people to take baskets out early every day.
Yeah.
They cause people to forget, and food stays in longer than it's meant to, and ultimately quality suffers.
Yeah, I mean, for my birthday this year, I went to a tried and tested brand that I used to love in the UK, I used to invest in the UK, Gourmet Burger Kitchen, GBK, and they completely burnt, not one burger, they burnt two on my birthday when I was hungry. They fucked it up big time. And that's just one restaurant and one example. But I think it happens to a lot of people all over. You order food, you're hungry, and they mess it up, they burn it. That's not going to happen with Miso Robotics. That's not going to happen with robots as a service. And I'm proud that I'm investing in this company because I think it's going to change the world. I think it's going to make lives a lot better, even for people working in the restaurants, definitely the restaurant owners and for the customers.
So that's Flippy. Flippy is very exciting for us. You see it here. It's a perfect backdrop for today. These are the models that we're shipping. So let's talk about where we're heading. Where's the future for Miso? So from a product perspective, there's a couple really important things at a high level. When we talk about Flippy, we're talking about a platform. We're not talking about a singular item that's shipped and we never touch or talk about again. It gets software enhancements. It can learn new features and skills over the time it's in your restaurant. It utilizes.
So as it's a platform, it could be the automated kitchen of the future. It could be everything in the kitchen, right? And then you've got one person out front that's doing the customer service, or maybe doing the, managing the robots and doing customer service. This is so obviously going to happen. It's just so obvious to me, and I'm excited that I'm a part of it.
This is what we call the robot on a rail or ROAR system. This was intentional. This was before me, but the individuals who designed this, it was genius. Restaurants can use vertical space.
Yeah.
They have no space on the floor any longer to put new equipment. Expanding menus, expanding pressures are creating lack of space. Using a system that utilizes vertical space that can continue to move linearly across a restaurant is both important for installations, but strategic in nature.
Brilliant.
You can imagine that there are adjacent stations to these that are equally as important to automate and would further improve Miso's ability to penetrate the market. Secondly, the computer and AI vision systems, Cookright. And Chris will touch on a little bit of this when he gets in his section. This is a system that is ultra flexible to be used in multiple places in the kitchen. The idea of that turnover and the computer vision providing insights and data that has never been before seen is really important. And since we're talking about data, data is a black hole. And I can say this from personal experience. It's a black hole in the restaurant industry. There's a really great saying that Buck Jordan, our president and co-founder, talks about, and he says, there's a lot of information, and this is completely true, from supply chain to the back door of a restaurant. And there's a lot of information from the POS, the register, to the customer. We see data all over the place. What is not spoken about is data between the back door and the register. How is the food being cooked? How's it being prepared?
Yeah.
What food is often getting thrown away? What are true waste numbers in our industry?
Yeah, because if you're a country manager, regional manager for one of these brands, you have no idea how many percentage of burgers are being burnt and customers never going back. I'm not going back to GBK anymore. They messed with my food on my birthday. It's not going to happen again. So how many customers are being lost by having bad cooking experiences or bad food because, employees are busy or whatever? During peak times, I imagine food just gets screwed up all the time. With Miso Robotics, that's never going to happen.
We will soon, if not now, already have more data than anybody else in this area. This is the future of Miso, where we will be able to harness this data in untold ways. Chris will use the term the spin wheel of data. That spin wheel is starting now and will only continue.
I'm going to become a data company.
We have products that are shipping now that are impacting the restaurant industry now at the points when it's needed most, in the areas that it's needed most. On top of that, we have a really clear strategic path for how these will expand for the years to come. How that's all done is so far beyond me. I'm really glad to now introduce Chris Kruger, our CTO, who will talk about the technology and our fundamental basis. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jake. And thank you for being here. It's actually great to see people live and be out again. So I'm Chris Kruger. I'm the Chief Technical Officer here at Miso, and I'm responsible for the software, the systems. Basically, all day I get to make products. And the job, it's a great job. I love it. My background prior to joining Miso about 8 months ago was I led the software team at iRobot for Roombas and Bravas, the little robot vacuums and mops that go around your house. Cool. My team was responsible for concepting new product development, as well as managing the fleet of over 5 million connected robots. It's the largest in the world, and we learned a lot from that. I have a background in large scale technological product development, connected product development, and brought that to bear at iRobot. Help them also do large scale product deployments and improve the quality of their product launches. It was a great job. I learned a lot about robotics from really one of the early robotics companies in the world. And I was able to also help them really embrace open source and learn about the democratizing effect that open source software has on the world and on robotics. Similar to how crowdfunding is democratizing investing.
Yeah.
So prior to iRobot, I spent 15 years at other large companies like Motorola, HP, Intel, and I developed mobile phones primarily. So it was it was great to see like major product developments like the original Droid, the Motorola Razr, big global products. And, it was really interesting to watch mobile phones go from something that people occasionally would use in their cars to something that most people don't go to the bathroom without. It's amazing to see how a product really can change the world and to see where robotics industry is today. I think that in the next few years, kind of like where the smartphone industry was right before the launch of the iPhone, you're going to see a dramatic increase in robotic applications. And you're going to see companies like Google and Apple-sized companies emerge in the field. So let's talk about the state of the robotics industry. The robotics industry is really in its early stages. And while it's pretty common in industrial applications, it's still really just getting started with commercial and consumer applications. We're really seeing that penetration of those markets, and we're seeing those foundational companies begin to emerge. A lot of this is due to the enabling technologies that have come online and really grown and matured over the last 5 years. Computer vision is one of those foundational technologies that's really increased in its performance and reduced in its cost. And you're seeing its application in lots of places. Another place is the adoption of open source software like ROS2. It's becoming a robotics standard of robotics for robotics projects. And as that happens, really what it does is it enables companies to create an ecosystem where they can thrive together. There's been a number of recent improvements in it for security and performance that are making it viable as a commercial platform. And finally, physics-based simulation is also improving to the point where we can verify robotic applications. Next year, Miso will run all of its Flippy configurations in cloud-based simulation. This is dramatically reduces the amount of testing we have to do and allows us to increase the quality of our product.
It's great.
There's a lot of exciting technology advances that are all converging right now on the robotics field that are allowing it to scale the way it is. So let's talk about Miso and how we're bringing restaurants into the future. We really have two tasks to do right now at Miso. One is to scale our Flippy product, and the other is to continue to build the cool stuff. Scaling Flippy really is about bringing governance to the product. It's about adding the metrics and analytics to the product that allow us to maintain it and also tell us what we need to fix and where we need to make improvements. It's something I learned at large scale, and it's something we're bringing to bear here. that put pieces together from our flagship 50. Well, I can't talk about most of them. Let me help you understand that as most brands come in here and see our products and see Flippy, they usually leave by asking us, can you help us with this other problem we have? It's a great on-ramp for new product development. And it leverages a lot of the pipeline of technology that we've built already. Even things like adding seasoning or flavor to food for a more finished product, or gathering analytics and metrics for forecasting. Well, finally, you can't build cool stuff without great people. And Miso has some of the smartest and most humble engineers and scientists I've ever worked with. I really enjoy coming to work every day.
It's good.
We've carefully grown the team, almost doubling in size since I've been here. We've organized our teams so that each of them is focused on a product.
Yep.
And we've elevated research so that we can stay ahead of those product teams and so we can stay ahead of potential competitors.
Keep watching, guys, because sometimes when you're doing research, things aren't always fast-paced, etc. But it's important to keep motivated and to keep going through it. Keep watching to the end of the video. So I'm sure you're going to get a lot of interest and insight out of this video so that you can learn more about the robotics as a service market, and in particular in the restaurant and quick service restaurant type market, where this opportunity is still humongous. I really think this Miso Robotics is a global company. I think it's generational. I think it could easily go up by a huge amount. I think 500 million is a small valuation for such a company. But anyway, let's continue watching.
I'd like to give a big shout out to Ryan Sinnett, our Chief Research Officer, and to Rob Anderson, our Head of Hardware, both co-founders of Miso. Both have been very welcoming and helped me be successful here. And they make working at Miso a joy. So thank you, and thank you for coming. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and for joining us on livecast. I'm happy to take any questions anyone may have, shareholders that are present, as well as shareholders that may be online livecast. Any questions, any wide array of subjects?
I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to keep recording because you get a lot of you can get some interesting questions from investors and from analysts. So I'm going to keep it open. Make sure to stick around, keep watching, because there could be some kind of very intelligent questions that come out, which I'm not going to be able to predict. I'm watching this live with you guys, so I want to share the experience.
But yeah, please. Ricky, right?
Yes.
Ricky, thanks for joining.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier that you were addressing
Yeah.
all the data that is I wanted to ask how much of a is sent to their customers. How does AI and robotics address that?
Okay. Excellent question, Ricky. The question for those online who may not have heard was around sanitation. Well, Miso's collecting data, if I got the question correctly. And a lot of the data and the AI that we have amassed, is that also helping in areas of sanitation? Okay. The data that's being put together for Miso is being put together for our customers, knowing that there will be a multitude of future uses, many of which we can't even foresee yet at this point in time. Okay. Sanitation, yes, here's an example, an illustration of how we might be able to use data to help restaurants run a more sanitary organization. Our computer vision is essentially the cameras that keep an eye on Flippy or on Cookright and measure different activities. The technology has now reached the point where it can measure not only the movement of human beings, but the identification of those human beings, not necessarily the name, etc. So we could, in concept, take our computer vision technology and point it at the back of the house and keep track of whether employees are sanitizing their hands, whether they're wearing gloves as they're meant to wear, things like for the operating procedure. There's a whole host of activities that we can dive into with this data that helps operators solve a problem. So that's a long-winded way of saying yes. the way that we're approaching this, Ricky and others, is that we have no shortage of problems coming to us from customers saying, can you help us solve this problem? When you look at back of house, it's a terribly inefficient, human, repetitive, human dependent series of operations. So there's a lot that technology and automation can do to help fix those problems and actually just improve operations. So what's important for Miso is that the progression, what problems and what order do we try to tackle first? Make sure we don't dilute ourselves too much too early on, and make sure that what we do solves the biggest, easiest to solve problems first, okay? Mm-hmm. So we have had, and we are having conversations about how we can use the technology to help sanitize the operation.
That's the best way to look at it. Lowest hanging fruit, capture the biggest market, get the biggest valuation, biggest earnings and cash flow through the business first. They can always tackle that kind of long tail of issues and problems later on, but it's better to capture the market quickest and fastest and the biggest market, I guess, which is frying and drinks, etc. first.
It's one of many. Are there any online? Sure. Today, our Series E is trading at $10.05 a share, okay? We did something a little confusing recently where we had a 7-for-1 stock split. A number of reasons for that, but the biggest reason was that the share price previously in our Series D was trading around $70 a share. It confused some people, created some confusion in the marketplace. That share price is typically associated with companies that are more mature. So we thought in order to alleviate confusion, we did a 7-for-1 split. Anyone who was a common shareholder got seven shares for their one, and the price went down. It was divided by 7. So it's $10.05 a share. Okay. Sir.
How close are you to doing things beyond? How close are you to being
Yeah, great questions. The question was, how close is Miso to evolving beyond some of the products you've seen today and beyond just frying fries? A lot closer than we're very close. So the answer is that we are careful about publicly announcing products and even more careful about publicly announcing partnerships. Okay, typically large corporate partnerships, like use any example, a Chipotle example, the company you've been working with. Go through a phase of exploratory. Can this problem be solved? And it's kind of a mutual engagement, exploratory discussion. And then oftentimes we will test products in a live restaurant environment to see, does the prototype that we made right here in this building solve the problem in the way that we intended to? And if it does, at that point, restaurant brands are comfortable and willing to come forward publicly and say, we're working with this company, okay? And it's fully understandable. We don't press them at all to disclose until it's kind of at that reasonable point. And so there's a lot of torpedoes in the water right now with other big brands testing other products that we're developing.
Interesting.
They're all very similar to Flippy. So what we go do is try to do something that's completely brand new and off in left field.
So they're obviously like building unique solutions for different brands, but they're probably not talking about it right now because there's no need. If they've got a big company, I don't know, Burger King or McDonald's or whatever, what's the point in talking about it right now? It's better when the brands are comfortable to talk about it. It seems like Miso Robotics has probably got a lot of ins. They're talking about a lot of torpedoes in the ocean. I don't think they need to chase demand. They probably don't even have a big sales team or marketing team. Like it sells itself.
The overhead rail, Flippy, the arm, and the computer vision, it's all made to be extensible. And so it's one step away from flipping burgers. It's one step away from frying another kind of food like chips, for example. That's deliberate. That's part of an expansive strategy. And what you'll see from us in the weeks ahead is more and more big customer announcements.
It's good.
Steven.
Question from online.
Yeah.
What was Q4 2021 revenue and why did you stop reporting it in quarterly reports?
Oh, what was quarterly revenue 2021? So Steven, you picked a tough question. It's tough not because it's tough because I candidly don't know off the top of my head, but I'll tell you that Miso is just now in a phase where we are starting to ship products to multiple customers and generate revenue very recently for the first time. That revenue is for 2021. Candidly, it's not yet meaningful. We charge a few $1,000s a month per location for a Flippy, And we're just now working on getting
Yeah.
dozens of flippies out there. We don't have 100 out yet. We're looking.
Right. So let's say they've got 20, they're only making, they're only making a small amount. The fact is they're raising a lot of money. They've probably got a lot, not a massive amount of cash burn. I'm sure they have a lot of cash burn, but it's probably not meaningful in terms of they're raising 100 million a year. And some of these customers could want 1,000 restaurants, and suddenly they're making 200,000 per month from just one brand.
We'd love to have 100 by the end of this year. So the revenue isn't particularly meaningful, so we don't talk about it a lot, but we do release it and we do announce it. All of our financials are available online on our website, and they're also available at Edgar. So and all of our financials are audited. Okay, so we run ourselves exactly like a public company and publish all of our financials annually. It's March, so our 2021 year-end financials should be released anytime.
Can you give an example on how the investment might return?
Okay, the question from Stephen from online was, can you give an example of how the investment might return? Yes, but I can't give an example for how much it might return. Okay, that's unknown territory. But here's when Miso has around 19,000 shareholders. Okay, so when companies or individuals put money in Miso, it's with the explicit intent to get that money back at a return in some reasonable period of time. Okay, so shareholders are our bosses. That's the mandate. We get it. We've got to get this company valuable and then find a way to have the shares be liquid so they can be sold again. So that's the mission.
Well, I don't know. I guess there'll be some shareholders that think that. I think it's also important to be with the company long term, because you never know where this is going to be. They might float in 3 years, at, I don't know, a couple of billion. But then the people that are with them for another 10 years and they go to 100 billion or 200 billion, they're going to get a lot more, action, if you like, and a bigger return. So I'm not sure what I would do if they do float in 2 years. I don't think I would sell that many shares, to be honest. I'm not sure I'd sell any. I think it's got a really strong growth profile, and I think it will grow for many, many years.
And that's the path that we're on. What we don't know is what that liquidation event will look like. Okay, most startup companies dream of going public and having an IPO. Frankly, most don't. A few do. We're really well positioned for that outcome. We have a lot of shareholders. We're publicly, the public can invest in Miso, and we run ourselves very much like a public company. So that is an outcome that we would be delighted to have, and we're marching towards it, trying to make that a reality. But there's also a possibility that the company becomes public through a direct listing or a SPAC event, and there's also the possibility we become acquired by another company.
Yeah, that'd be a shame.
Way too early for that for Miso.
It'd be a real shame if it's acquired by another company, because I kind of feel that this is a generational stock or company, and it could change the lives of hundreds, definitely tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people if people invest like through their crowdfunding kind of soon. And they, even if they buy an IPO, like I said, like they're going to be growing for years and years. So it'd be such a shame if they were bought by a private company. I kind of feel like this kind of company should be publicly owned, because also it can go to all sorts of restaurant brands. If they sold to Yum Brands, for example, then that would be a shame, or even a kitchen operator or whatever. I think it would make sense for it to be privately listed or publicly listed. I think bottom line is that customers and the public should be able to buy and sell trade stocks for them. That's my opinion.
Still building so much value in the company. You saw the slide we put up. The company's now worth $500 million. Okay, so we're on a tear. We haven't even really announced most of our exciting products and most of our big customer deals. So we're way too early to be focused on exiting, but it's absolutely part of our plan and our mission. Okay.
We have a couple questions on patents.
On patents?
On patents.
Okay.
What do we have, and how will that help us in the future?
Yeah. The question is about Miso patents. We have a very active patent portfolio. The approximate number is 19 patents filed. The approximate number is 5 granted, 14 pending. I say approximate because it fluctuates pretty regularly. Some of the patents we have are pending, and they're they're nice. They're, for example, the sleeve is an invention, or the sleeve that covers Flippy arm. That's nice, but that's a component patent. Most of our patents are broad patents. They cover not only a discrete engineering invention, but also a broad function and methodology of preparing food. So we've got some big meaty patents in our portfolio, and those have been pending and published for many years, and we have first use advantage on many of them. What that means is the portfolio is a lot of intellectual property locked up legally and very, very promising. And we're adding to it regularly. There's continual inventions that come out of this amazing team here that continue to add to our patent portfolio. The way that helps us, frankly, is in years ahead, because we continue to build out automation solutions for restaurants and have this broad portfolio of automation, products. We really carve territory where no other companies can tread. That I can't say that like carte blanche in terms of automation as a whole.
And that's why it'd be such a shame if it was bought out and not in public hands in terms of an IPO, just because I think it would deny that opportunity to budding investors.
But the functions that you see performed here by Flippy are largely protected by patents. That largely fends competitors off from following us. So it's a really good defensive asset that we have in place that just continues to grow. Hi. Well, the question is, are the foods that Flippy cannot cook? Now he's listening, so you got to be really careful, but not to offend him. It's a thoughtful question, and the abstract answer is no, but the practical answer is yes. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Large restaurant brands frequently ask us, "Can you help us solve the problem?" And an example I'll use is, "Can you help us make guacamole?" If you've ever seen a restaurant brand like Chipotle, for example, they start 2 or 3 hours every morning, 2 human beings. We went and filmed them and watched them. They're really fast. They're really good. They're talented. And it's amazing to see how fast they can create a day's worth of guacamole, okay? There's still 2 or 3, 4 hours every morning with 2 workers, and it's still kind of a labor pinch point for Chipotle. Can we create a robot, or can we adapt Flippy to have the tools and the vision and the grip to be able to do that? The answer is yes, we can. However, that's an example of a really hard problem to solve, and it would take us a long time, and it would be really expensive, and Chipotle would hate the price. So it wouldn't necessarily be an economic benefit to them, even though the robot could do it. So there's other examples on the other end of the spectrum, like fries. That's super straightforward. A robot can do that, and although it's not easy, full respect to the engineers in the room, although it's not easy, it's relatively straightforward, and it's a perfect task for automation for a robot. And then there's a bunch that are in between. So what we do as a company is we progress down this kind of continuum, say, okay, what are the biggest problems that are easiest to solve? And I suppose there's some that we could never get to. Can anyone think of some cooking tasks that Flippy kind of will never do?
He would never allow it.
Yeah.
So it's not so much what can we can do or can't do. What things do a brand what they wouldn't buy from the patent?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
handmade things like Chipotle may not want us to ever think about guacamole because that's such an important handmade attribute.
Sure.
I would answer it that way. Probably.
Sure. Yeah. But if you look forward 5 years from now, that the type of functions that are appropriate for a robot to do and economic for a robot to do, it's just they can continue to expand. Machines are getting better, computer vision is getting better, software's getting better.
That's
It's
the
going to
future.
continue to expand. Thank you, Massimo. This is one of our board of directors, by the way, Massimo DiMarco. And the question is, what am I most excited about? Okay, so that's a really hard question to answer because I think of that short term and long term. Okay, so right now we've got 4 products that have not fully been put in the market yet that are really, really close. Okay, and so when I look ahead about solving the crazy line at drive-through and the silly human task of filling a cup, filling it again, ice just right, handing it. like bringing these products across the finish line and bringing them to market, those are big high five days for this company. And those are moments that I'm super excited about, okay? The longer term is when I look at this problem globally, and I think about, okay, there should be a building like this or two somewhere in Europe, somewhere in Asia, in Middle East. We should be doing things just like this and realize we're part of a global economy. And these problems aren't so, American myopic, but they're actually global problems for us to solve. That's exciting for me as well. Thank you for that.
What is the production time, Mike, for a Flippy 2 from order to shipment, and how have shipping delays affected your business?
That's a great question. Jake, you want to hear from you on this one?
So the question was around time it takes from order to delivery and shipping delays. Is that right, Stephen? A Flippy 2. Yeah, so one, I will say from the onset, we are not impervious to the global supply chain situation. We don't sit in some bubble that can't be touched by that. When things are as they should be, from the day you order it, it's about 6 weeks. There's a lot of things that get planned in, and we have to, just-in-time manufacturing. We follow a lot of the same manufacturing principles that make top-tier manufacturing companies. Some of the things that are challenging us now are the things that are challenging everyone, computer chips and so on and so forth. There's good news in timing, and we think we may avoid the vast majority of these items from the standpoint of we still are not yet shipping thousands of robots every month. That is not where we are today. So when you see supply chain shortages, oftentimes they're in, the car industry, they're shipping tens and tens of thousands, and they're trying to procure tens and tens of thousands. We can be much more nimble, and I think that's two ways. We're a nimble company. Go ask the engineers that are right here, right now. We are able to attack problems very quickly. So if there is a shortage, we can address it probably easier than most at this point. That won't always be the case. So hopefully that the timelines coincide where the supply chain near-term challenges are abated a bit as we ramp, right? But other than that, it's about 6 weeks is the answer. If you're a brand new brand, say, brand X or Y comes along and says, we now want Flippy, it's a little bit longer. We have a really clear process of training. The robot has to learn the food. It visualizes the food. So there's a couple, call it extra weeks in there to bring on a new brand. But if you're a White Castle, as an example, new White Castle location is ready for an installation, it's about 6 weeks. Good question. Great question.
So on that thread, how many Flippies are we planning to deploy this year?
Well, we have goals, and of course, that changes, and we forecast and reforecast and look, and the number that are wanted continues just to go vertical. The number that we're looking to ship this year, Mike said it earlier, we would love to hit 100, but think around that ballpark, right? Reason why am I not saying 1,000 or 10,000? We are, while the product is being produced and manufactured in a scalable way, we are still on the front end. We have lots of customer announcements coming. We've made a lot of customer announcements in the last kind of 4 or 5 months. From speaking from experience, that is the longest pole in the tent. It's going to take time to get it in the innovation center, run it through the tests, make sure the corporate chef signs off on it, that the corporate operations team signs off on it. So that's literally some months. Once we get past that, that's when adoption occurs. And so we expect that to be more in earnest in Q3 and Q4. 2023 is when that really starts to take off. Great question. Any others that I might answer before I pass it back?
Yeah,
if it's really hard. I'm going to
give
it to Mike.
No, that's actually given your pass, Jake. What other options are there for QSR automation today? Are there in-house automation solutions that some of the big brands have released that are competing with Miso?
Yeah, this is a very good question. It's an important question, right?
Yeah,
a little bit about competitors, a little bit about what brands are doing. So the question is, are brands making in-house automation plays? In short, the answer is yes. None more public than Spice and acquired by Sweetgreen, right? Literally, they bought a robotics company. I see this as twofold. One, yes, obviously, that is a competitor in the space. Literally, this industry is so new. This is the tide rises, all ships scenario. It's people clearly see it. So yes, brands are trying to endeavor on robotics in-house. There are some that are succeeding. There's multiple strategies on this, acquiring a brand or trying to literally build your own robotics team. And there will be levels of success across all of those. We play in a different space in that we make a super flexible product that fits across the entire landscape. versus these brands making bespoke problems. The other thing I would throw out there, again, not to toot our own horn, but the product looks, when you look at it online or you watch a video, in nature, it's easy to understand. It is immensely challenging to make happen. So brands trying to go it alone, you saw maybe on the slide deck, we have over 100 staff now. 65, 70% of those are software and hardware engineers. Many of those with advanced degrees from the top institutions, top robotics and automation companies in the world, okay? In short, we have a really smart group of people and we're 5 years in. So we have a good lead time. These brands that are taking it on, it's a big challenge. So yes, there are brands trying to do it. It's really, really, really hard. And we feel like the tide is rising and we're part of that tide.
Question on this recent stock split.
Oh, good. This is a hard one.
Good luck.
What, Mike,
Calculator, please.
was the share split the same across all rounds? Meaning, regardless of when you bought in, did your share split 7-for-1?
Effectively, yes. The question was, did the stock split affect all classes of shares? The short answer is yes. The specific answer is every class of stock converts to common shares upon a liquidation event. So if you own Series C or Series D or Series E, when the company goes to sell, this is a very typical thing for companies, private and public, all the shares convert into the same class of stock, and then you sell the company. It's a conversion method. In that math, yes, applies to all classes of stock.
Okay, I think we might have one
I don't know
for,
if I created more confusion there.
we might have one for Mr. Kruger here.
Yeah.
Once installed, would each store have complete control of the robots, or would they need to stay connected to a Miso server to continue functioning? The question is really about fail-safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Flippy products are all designed to run autonomously. They don't need to be connected to function properly for extended period of time. Unless there's an issue with the product, which we then can log into and look at and analyze the metrics for. So yeah, there's no need to be connected to the product except for the need of support or if you want to see what you cooked in that day. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, please. The question has to do with international expansion and what's pulling us in what territory and who. It's generally the U.S. brands that have overseas operations that are asking us to hurry and get over there and help them over there. So some of those brands, like to use any example, Kentucky Fried Chicken has like over 200,000 locations, far more outside of the U.S.
200,000.
So that would be an example of the U.S. brand. In terms of what markets,
I mean, that is a huge number. I mean, if they're going to make 24,000 a year from each company, from each store, what's that times 200,000? That's a lot of revenue.
we go through in what order. We talk about having 100 people, which is great, but it's only 100 people. We don't, and most are engineers. So
yeah, I think there's going to be some kind of backlog. How are they going to, they're looking to ship 100 units this year. How are they going to start to be able to ship 1,000 units or 10,000 units or, a month? Because that's what it might need to be, or maybe even more, maybe even 50,000 units a month, because a lot of these companies, the KFCs, the Yum Brands, the McDonald's of this world will want this kind of technology in as many stores as they can. So I think I don't know if anyone's going to ask about how they're going to ramp there, but they probably need a bunch of more staff and operations and manufacturing type facilities.
the company is still, bandwidth is important, and our focus is our most important asset. And so we got to be really careful about not doing too much too fast. And just going overseas to allow us to make an announcement, that's kind of that's a superficial approach, and we're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is, what we're doing now is we're assessing those territories and kind of understanding what is the ease of penetration in those
that's a really smart way. That's kind of the way that I look at go-to-market as well. I'm not saying I'm smart, but it's the smartest way to look at it. Lowest hanging fruit, biggest market opportunity, and also not rushing it because they've got smart engineers. If they can build more products and more functionality and get the IP for it, then nobody can really copy them anyway. So they can go to market more or less at their own speed, even though obviously they probably want to start generating revenue, as soon as they can. I really agree with their approach.
Individual markets based on things like currency and something as pedestrian as the type of electrical current in that territory, and frankly the trading partners, like who can we spin up quickly that can handle support, manufacturing, etc. Okay, so we're in that analysis phase right now.
It looks like they're going to be like partner with engineering and manufacturing firms, which I think is a really smart move, because to be totally vertically integrated at the start and to try to get into manufacturing themselves, I think would slow down the company's growth significantly. But the fact that they're going to be partnering with other manufacturing companies is good. There's some risks there with quality assurance, but to be honest, they'd have those risks if they owned the manufacturing themselves as well. So I think that the risks stay constant, but the speed to market is increased when you're relying on or supported by other international partners.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, the question is whether the labor shortages expand beyond other territories. Yes, they are. It is affecting the entire global economy. I believe that there is different types of labor shortages in Asia. There's frankly just a population decline in certain countries that are creating that problem. In the US and Europe, it's very common where it's very much just a shifting of labor that's accelerated by the pandemic. But yeah, there's labor problems that are there that are just as acute. Yeah.
We have another one from online.
Please.
Are there any quality or safety certifications that Miso products need to obtain before putting them in restaurants?
Yes. Jake?
The question is around safety certification. So yes, there are standards, and kind of dovetailing into the global question, there's global standards. And so NSF is one of the key and critical ones. So that means our products are safe, food safe, operate in a food safe manner. They don't harbor grease or bacteria. Every piece of industrial restaurant equipment must be certified by this, and we are well versed in this. Our products have gone through this, so we know that. CE and ETL certification, so more on the engineering side. Again, yes, the answer is yes for our production products. These are items we need. Now, there is a small caveat, is there is a kind of a safe harbor under testing. So CE, ETL, NSF, they all allow for some portion of your fleet that's in test to be non-certified, but certified pending. It's kind of like patent pending. So this doesn't slow us down because it's a long, and it should be a long process to make sure it's correctly certified by these large organizations. So as to not slow us down strategically, we also go through the pending process to get the first couple in. So as Mike said, you'll hear news about future products here in the coming months. Those products are often in pending status. But yes, to answer it in short, we do need to be certified.
So what I like about one thing
great.
I like before they exit the Q&A, I wanted to jump in here, is they're positioning themselves to be a large global company that can provide unique solutions to large, it seems like unique solutions to large restaurant chains, as well as diverse solutions. You know, they've got burgers, fries, drinks, and what else is coming? I don't know. It's very interesting.
Great. Everyone who joined us online, thank you. Appreciate your time, your attention, and your questions and your engagement.
And to all of my viewers as well, thank you.
This recording will be sent out and put on the website. Will be
keep watching.
For those who've joined us in person, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. Really,
I want to give my insights and overall opinion about this as it pertains to the specific case of Miso Robotics, and also robotics as a service companies and the industry in general.
We appreciate the questions and the attention. Thank you on behalf of all of Miso. Thank you for your support, your belief in us. We're going to continue
Strong
to do
belief.
good work for you. Take good care of your investment and watch this space. There's a lot more to come.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Very exciting. Right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn on the light, actually. Bear with me. I'm going to turn off the camera for a moment. just so I can turn on lights. And then I'll be sharing my opinion on all of this, on all of this video, the whole presentation for 2022. I think it's fantastic. I think if you're watching this video in a later year, whether it's 2023 or 2024, or even 2025, it'd be interesting to see how much they've improved by. Also, I'm quite excited about the product development. I think that, you know, they could try to service, you know, all the people that are interested in Flippy and ignore product development. But as you can tell, like, they've got individual brands that are trying to produce their own solutions. So why not try to develop all the solutions as the software, hardware, robot technology company? Then over time, they can ship the product to market globally. And I like that approach. Obviously, some investors will be pissed that, you know, the revenue is going to be slower to come in. But when it does come in, you know, instead of being $2,000 per restaurant, it might jump to $5,000 or $10,000 per restaurant. And you times that by hundreds of thousands of stores. And, you know, this company could be enormous. I really like this company. I really like robotics. In terms of the industry, they did talk about how the investment in robotics is going up. I'm already investing in robotics in the agri-tech space for farming and in robotics for restaurants. I would love to be able to invest in more robotics companies. They're not always that easy to find. If you're an investor in a robotics company, please feel free to share the name and how individual investors can invest in that company in the comment section below. If you're interested in learning more about the companies I invest in, also Chipotle, the competitor Chipotle in Europe, I'm an investor in them. I've got some videos about them, Tortilla, check those out. I like this company, Miso Robotics. I think it's going to be a great company for the future. I'm going to continue to invest in them. There's a question about follow-on rounds. Should I keep on investing in them? I think I probably will. If they give me more clarity of their vision, that they're going to IPO and they're not going to go for a private sale, but they want to completely IPO, I'd probably invest more in them, just because I would like to invest in a generational company that I can invest in for 10, 20, 30 years. It's good to invest in a company for 3 or 4 years, obviously, but I'd love to be involved in a company that can grow 100x, 1000x, 10,000x. And if they're looking for a trade sale, it's not going to have the chance to do that. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and well done for sticking out. Let me know what you think about this video, about what they're saying. If you've got any thoughts about these particular products, or indeed robotics as a service industry, you know, from a customer perspective, investor perspective, I want to hear from you in the comment section below. Remember, I've got videos around all sorts of styles of investing, from investing in listed equities, in angel investments like Miso Robotics, as well as videos on property investment as well. Check those videos out as well. There'll be some recommended videos on the left and right side of the screen. Apologies for my look at the moment. I'm in the middle of wedding planning as well, and working hard for some launches for WhatsApp for my day job. So I'm quite busy at the moment, but at some point in the future, I will shave and I will look a little bit more better looked after, if you like. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, smash the like button, consider subscribing, hit the bell notification icon, because you can get notified about these new raises, about new exciting companies, etc., and updates. There'll be some other videos around that will be probably good for someone like you. Check out my other playlists. Until then, remember that knowledge is power, especially the right kind of knowledge, and progress is everything. I'll see you guys in the next upcoming video. Take care.